Elizabeth here from the Finkelstein Memorial Library, and welcome to our first Teen Time Craft of spring programming. And today our theme is Get a Clue, so we've got a bit of a mystery craft going on. So today we are going to make our very own book safes. So we're actually going to cut a hole in the middle of a book and create a secret hideout where you can put, anything special that you want, just for yourself, or if you want to give it to a friend, or if you just want a fun place to keep your things, even if everyone knows where they are, because it's something cool that you created, so it can be your own special space. So I did give you quite a few items that we're going to be using today in your craft kit, so you want to get that out. And first thing first, it does not matter what the book is. It's actually better if it's a book that you would probably never read or a book that you totally would not like, because we're going to cut it up. And let me tell you, it is a lot harder if it's a book that you do like to cut it up. So I left the covers on. If you want to use your cover, you just want to take it off for now. You can put it back later. It's just going to be easier to work with the book without the cover. So you want to take the cover off. So it could just be any book. We just happen to include books that we did have. So the first step that we're going to do is take that cover off, okay? Then we're going to go about 90 pages or so in, and you'll see that in all of the books, we pre-cut a little hole right in the middle for you with an X-Acto knife, since we could not give you X-Acto knives, and we wouldn't want you to use one unless you were, we were helping you do something in the library, or if you were doing something at school or with an adult. So we pre-cut a little bit for you. So the first thing we're going to do is, starting on the regular pages, the pages that are not cut, all right, I want you to get your plastic bags. I gave you 2 because everyone's books are like a little bit of a different size. And I want you to cover the side of the book that's not cut, okay? So I'm just going to do my best to cover it. We want to make sure that it stays really covered. You might only use 1 bag. You might need 2. So I think I'm pretty good just folding this over. And then I put a ton of rubber bands, and this is where we're going to use the rubber bands. Okay, so I have this baggie double folded over the not cut, so the cut part's still out, okay? This is just the part that has not been cut. And we are just going to put all these rubber bands on, because we do not want this side to get wet when we start using glue. We just want nothing to happen to this side. So all I'm doing is putting on rubber bands over the not cut first about 90 pages. And we make sure that that has secure plastic bag covering. So I gave you a lot of rubber bands. You might not need them. You might not need all the plastic bags, but like I said, better safe than sorry. So just keep putting on rubber bands until you feel comfortable that the book is secure. And you can move it around, you can cover it however much you need to cover it. This is your project. You are the one doing it right now. I am just showing you how I'm doing it. Okay, so I think that's pretty good for me, all right? I have 5 rubber bands, and I've right up to the seam. I feel pretty good that we are ready for the next step. All right, let me get it set up. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to start cutting. And now you'll see I included just basic safety scissors with every kit, because like I said, we're not going to be using an X-Acto knife. Though definitely adults have done this with X-Acto knives, even drills. You can get really fancy with this. We are not looking for super fancy. We're just looking for basic, fun, and safe. So we're going to use these scissors, and it's going to take a little bit longer, but it's going to still be really cool, I think. So you can see we took time. We cut a hole in each one. So the most important thing while you're doing this project is you are going to want to make sure that you keep lining up the book to be flat, like a 90-degree angle, like you have this open, okay? And that's because if you don't do that, then your hole isn't going to go straight down, okay? If you cut and your book is like this, then you're going to be cutting a hole and it's going to be slanted. It's not going to work. So as we go through this part of the process, you have to keep coming back and checking at this angle, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do, okay, everyone's got the ruler. Everyone's got a ruler and a pencil. And so I tried to put all of these holes directly in the middle of the book. So I measured with my ruler. They should be about 1 inch by 1 inch. So what I would need you to do next is you want to measure, because again, each book is slightly different in size, and you can mark with your pencil exactly like what you're going to do, how many inches out. So this is where you're going to decide how big you want this safe that you're going to create in your book, this hole that we're going to make, okay? So right now, that hole is 1 inch by 1 inch roughly. So then you have to decide, do you want to try to do a cool shape? You could totally do like a triangle. I think a square or a rectangle is probably going to be the easiest right now, especially with the scissors. But you could totally try to do a cool shape. That's fine. So I would block it out. I would measure approximately, let's see. I'm probably going to go 2 inches in. So I'm just marking that down right here. Okay. And then up here, I want to do 2 inches. Okay, so now I have a mark here and here. And then from the sides, I'm going to do 1 inch because that's shorter. Okay, and now, here, I'll make my lines thicker. And now you can see I have 4 lines. So that is approximately where I'm going to cut my square. So, scissors. The thing is, each book is going to be a different size. Some are thicker than others. You can't take too many pages at once. So I'm going to show you guys how to do this, and then I'm going to get off camera and finish, because even sped up, this is going to take a long time. This is not the kind of craft that you are going to sit down and finish right away. You got to cut it, then you've got to glue it, then you've got to wait. It's going to take a little time. But you know what? It's a whole week until our next craft drop. So this will keep you busy. And at the end, you're going to have this really cool container that you made. Okay. So I would say a few pages. Let's not get crazy. We're going to try to do a few pages at a time, okay? So I've blocked out my square. And actually, you know what I'm going to do before I cut it? I'm going to actually extend this. I'm going to make the actual box with my pencil. So I'm just going to use my ruler to block this out. Again, don't worry about any markings, because we are going to glue some felt on the top of all of this at the end. Do not go crazy about pencil markings. Does not matter. Okay, now I have a full square. And I know, okay, I'm 2 inches in, 2 inches in, 1 inch and 1 inch. So I know going forward, that's what I'm doing. So, we're going to take a couple pages. All right. And, can you see? We are going to cut. I'm going to cut diagonally to each corner of my square that I made. So what's nice is the book can rotate. Okay, so now just to see what I did here, okay, just literally, I just cut diagonal, and now I'm just going to cut these little itty bitties off. And again, you can do whatever shape you want. You can, I don't know how it would work with a circle. I think that might be a little tricky, but if you want to try it, go for it. You know, this is a craft project like anything else. It's going to look a little different from everyone. And when you're done, especially because this takes a while, please email us at fmlteen@rcls.org, because I really want to see how all of yours turn out, and you will see how mine turn out. Okay, so we have our first little bit. And again, it doesn't matter if things don't match up exactly, because we're going to glue something over it, but you want it to match up if it can, right? So you're going to keep coming back to this flat surface, this 90-degree angle, and just make sure that your pages roughly match. You don't want there to be a big slanted hole. Okay? You want it to be pretty much when it's like this, because eventually we are going to glue it. We're going to glue it, and it's going to be like this. Okay? It's going to be all glued together. So this hole needs to be at this angle. Okay? So this is definitely going to be the time-consuming part. Already I tried to cut 2 little pieces, and I see that they're slightly different, but that's okay, because that's going to happen. So make your shapes, cut them out, and then we'll meet back here for you in just a few seconds. And we will start the gluing, and that's why we have this part protected. Okay, and that's coming apart. We'll see where you guys are at. Okay, one more quick thing I just wanted to mention before you cut everything up and throw it away. You can totally save all of the scraps of little words, and they'll come out in all different shapes and stuff, and you can totally do another craft with these. There's not many times that you need to cut up a book, so you can keep them, and you can do other crafts. You can look on the internet, or you can ask Diane, our teen librarian, and she can give you a lot of awesome crafts to do with little pieces of books. So hold on. One last thing about cutting, okay? You can absolutely trace from your square once you've cut that first square. Absolutely, if that's what's easiest for you. You just want to make sure, again, though, that you have that 90-degree angle. So you want to make sure that your book has one side straight up, because remember, we're going to glue this and they're going to be flat. So you want to make sure this remains flat when you're drawing, but absolutely you can trace that out, and then you can cut just like we were before. So absolutely you can do that. Hello again. I'm back. I've cut out my square, and I will say that this took me a really long time, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I kept going backwards and trying to get it to match up more. I definitely, at one point, I started from the back and started remeasuring. So it's not perfect, but it's a lot closer than it was at one point, because let's do our 90-degree angle check. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So now, here's when that 90-degree angle is important. So we are going to glue the outside parts. We're not going to glue the inside yet. That's next. We're going to glue the outside, and we're going to let it dry. Okay? Now remember, ideally, we want our book to be able to appear closed, so it can be a secret hiding spot if it wants to be, or just, like I said, a really cool container that looks like a book. So you want it to just look like a regular book when it closes. So this is where we want to glue it. So honestly, I'm thinking we probably just want to keep this completely closed while we're gluing this outside, because we're not touching this yet. Okay? So let's keep that completely closed. Let's get a couple more of our rubber bands. And I am just going to put a couple of rubber bands to keep it. You know what? I'm going to put the glue first, then we're going to put the rubber bands. Now, I have 2 containers of glue in each of your kits. There is no difference between these 2 glues. Quite honestly, I ran out of one type of bottle, so I gave you 2 different types of bottles that we had. I'm thinking, though, that this squeezy bottle will actually probably be more helpful for the inside And this will probably work easier for the outside. So I think I'm going to start with this, and if I need more, I'll go with the squeezy bottle. And we're going to use our paintbrush. So what I'm going to do, okay, I'm going to open my glue. You can use either though. And we're going to paint, okay, all around, okay? And when it's nice and glued, we are going to put some more rubber bands to keep it in place. We're going to let that dry, okay? And then we're going to go to the next part. So let's get gluing. Okay, so I've just started gluing, and definitely try to hold this firmly while you're doing it. We're using the Mod Podge for paper. That's the type of glue adhesive that we're using. So you really, really just want to make sure there's a nice thick layer of glue on each side. And you want to make sure that you also are touching it to the bottom, right? Because we want those last pages to stick to the bottom as well. Okay, so yeah, you can kind of see. I feel pretty good about that. So now, actually I haven't used that much glue. We're gonna start the big side. I figured I wanted to make sure that you guys had enough glue. So by all means, don't feel like you have to use all the glue I gave you. And again, remember, I just included 2 containers because that's what we had. But you don't have to use like one now and one later. You can just use however much you need now, and then however much you need later. And if you have extra, great. Maybe you can use it for another project, maybe with your scraps. I had so many scraps. There were lots of weird shapes. That might be something cool to do. Some sort of, I don't know, maybe you could make some sort of something hanging, or like something with a light. I feel like that would be really cool with the scraps to do something that maybe shines through. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're getting everything in there. And remember, we have that plastic bag on, so the rest of the book is protected. So just do your best and get that all in there. Okay, now we're going to do the last part. I'm actually really excited. I think that this is going to come out really nice. This is fun. Okay. I think I've been putting quite a lot of glue on each side, so I'm optimistic that it's enough. And just make sure, like I said, you want to make sure that you have a nice thick bit on the bottom, right? So it'll connect to the cover. And let's also just make sure that those sides, corners are good. Okay. So now I'm going to take these rubber bands and just going to do a couple, just so everything stays in place. I don't want to get glue on me, but not the end of the world if I do. Okay, I'm just going to do a couple across and a couple this way. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear my cat. He is trying to help, but he can't. Okay, so I've just put some rubber bands, and if you have some newspaper or plastic, then I just have some packaging. So we're just going to leave it like this. We're going to let it dry, and then we're going to check on it and do the last part, which is make the box look really cool. All right, let's see how it looks in a little while. Okay, and we are done letting our books dry, and I'd say about 2 out of 3 of my sides look pretty good. this is totally glued and it looks like normal. And this looks pretty good too. This one looks a little not great. It's because it got a little stuck to some of my baggie, so I kind of had to pull it off. So I think what I'll do is I might put a little more glue when we do this next part, since we have to leave it anyway. And it looks pretty good. So, all right, let's get out our piece of felt. Everyone got a piece of felt, and get out our glue again. And our scissors. Okay, so let's all get those out. So this next part, the first thing we want to do is cut our piece of felt however big our hole will need it to be. Because we just want this part cut because we don't want the extra part showing, because eventually we want to close the book, and obviously we don't want people to see felt if it's supposed to be a secret book safe. So let's see. I think I'm going to use my pencil, actually. You could try to just freehand cut it if you want, but I am going to mush down the amount of felt I need, and then I am just going to try to make, yeah, this is perfect. Just some light pencil marks. I know some of you have darker colors. I think I put in some green, so that might not exactly work. You might have to use something else. Maybe if you have a piece of chalk, or you could just try to freehand it. Okay, so you can kind of see that. But again, I have a light color. And felt is definitely hard to cut through, but just do your best. It's going to be a little annoying. Some felt is easier to cut than others. And all we're just going to try to do is cut that shape however you were able to mark it. And if you did use chalk or pencil or something to mark it, we can just glue that down upside down so that no one will see the markings. So we're almost done here, and I hope that yours are looking great. And don't forget, seriously, to email us, or if you're on our Discord server, just drop a picture, because I really want to see how these turned out for you guys. I'm really excited about this. Okay, so that looks pretty good. All right, so I cut my piece, and it came out just about what I needed it to. So we're going to use our glue. I'm probably going to end up using this one, because it'll be easier to get in the nook and crannies, and we're going to glue this down. Once we have our piece glued, we're going to shut it, we're going to put something heavy on it, and we're going to wait for the last part. So let's start gluing and finishing this project up. All right, so I'm going to be really liberal with my glue. I'm just going to put a ton, because we know we have a lot of glue left, and doesn't matter if it's too much. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. And I am going to put a little more on the tippy top, like I mentioned, because I have that problem with my pages. So I'm just going to use my paintbrush, try to fix that little issue up on the top, and trying to get everything over here. So with your paintbrush, like I said, just apply it really liberally. Just, now I'm getting glue on myself. Try not to get glue on yourself. Just get the glue everywhere, because the felt can be fickle. It might not want to stick, and we want to make sure that it definitely sticks. So get the glue all over the spots that you need it, so that this hole that we cut out looks classy with some felt and looks like a fancy, on purpose, secret book safe. Okay, I don't know about you guys. I'm noticing it is hard to get the tippy top parts of these. Can you see? So I'm going to try to just put a layer of glue all around the tippy top of the edges, because I'm having trouble really getting them there. Oh, that's much better. See, it was good that we kept that squeeze bottle till now. Okay, so that is thoroughly covered in glue, thoroughly glued. So now we're going to stick this in. Okay. All right. So make sure it's all glued in. I definitely put a lot of glue because it's seeping through a little bit, but that's not a big deal. And again, as long as your book remains covered, we are going to shut this, okay? And if you had any last minute little fixes that you need to do like I did, definitely put that on. And then we're going to get those rubber bands again so that we can close our books. One last time. And for good measure, especially because I don't want that crinkly to happen again, put something heavy on top of it and leave it to dry, and then we'll check in and we should be all done. All right. Okay, time for our moment of truth here. We are going to take off our rubber bands and little stuck together. Not too bad. Oh, I think it looks pretty good. All right, let's take it all off. I'm taking off all of this part. And, okay. I think it looks pretty good. What do you guys think? All right, there's a little bit of a line. But, if I just put it over there, you would never know that it is a book safe. Okay, and then you open it up. Oh, it's just a normal book. No big deal. Aha, it's a book safe. All right, there's still that little bit up there, but I think that that's fine. You can keep whatever you want in here, and I really, really want to see how all of yours came out. I think this came out pretty good, to be honest. I'm pretty happy with it. So definitely email us again at fmlteen@rcls.org and let us know how yours turned out. I can't wait to see them. All right, make sure you sign up for next week's craft.